welcome to our second episode of We Should Have Coffee with Jay and Steph. My name is Steph.
My name is Jay.
And I'll be your host for today's episode. So in this episode, we talk about our own habits and routines that's helped us sort of maintain a healthy work-life balance. It seems like most millennials these days not only have a full-time professional career, but also manage side hustles or are thinking about starting one. Right? Yeah, slow trouble. So yeah, you'll find us diving into some of the struggles of balancing a full social schedules, and then we'll be giving some of our tips for productivity and some of our daily practices that help us navigate that and feel our best just to avoid burnout throughout the year. So we hope that by the end of the episode, we can help you with some ideas on a more balanced 2024 year.
Ooh, that was great. Look at us. Second episode in,
right?
and
so,
we are
yeah, there
warm.
you go.
We're ready.
Intro and
We're not
outline
messing around.
done. Yeah.
Tick, tick.
Let's go. Yeah. So, Jay, I was actually wondering, I feel like I have so many questions. I guess, like, I see you posting like pretty much every day. Like, I see how consistent you are. So, like, how do you do it?
The $1 million question, right?
Yeah, how do you do it?
You know, that is so funny because I always believe in, like, you know, it takes ages to build habits, and I'm a firm believer that you cannot build a habit without having really, really easy steps along the way. So what I mean by that is, if, for example, I know we're talking about content creation, but if, for example, you really want to, like, bring back fitness into your schedule, then I would start by maybe putting on my sports bra every day. Or when I get home from work, maybe I'll put my sports bra and my tights on. I might not go to the gym, but, like, I'm ready. Do you know what I mean? And then I'll do that for maybe a week. And then what you say to yourself is, even though it's minute and it's really small, that for you is a win. And then maybe the next week you would add putting your shoes in. And then the next week you're, like, out the door. And then suddenly you're, like, walking outside. So it has to be, like, really, really part of your routine. And for me, my passion projects is what I document, and they go hand in hand. So it's really just about taking the time to document things. And then when you build quantity, so when you always, like, take photos or record your skills, because it is just a skill, gets better. The less time you spend editing, the less time you feel like you're curating things, and the more time that you actually feel like you're making stuff. So yeah, so I find that for me to find time is to really just, like, live the moments that I want to capture and just share it. But I have to be very organized. I would love to know how you do it, because for me, it's all about, like, emotion based. So I'll do stuff because I feel like doing it, because I, like, want to do it. It brings me, like, happiness. But I feel like you're very, like, practical in a sense that you love the planning stage and the organizing everything.
Yeah, I totally feel like I've learned something from you. And that's the thing with, like, storytelling, right? It has to be like very emotional based, right? Rather than, oh, here's like a perfectly curated moment, right? That's not really part of my day-to-day routine sort of thing. So I really love the way that it's like you're capturing moments as you go along in your day. And I'm going to take a page out of your book there, because I guess I'm a little bit more of, like, a strategic, that's just how my brain works a little bit. And so even with my blog, like my upcoming one, where I already have topics for the next, like, few weeks, like few months for sure, when I'm sort of planning it out, I have days in the week where I try to do some batch, like, content, whether I am taking photos, taking videos of things, right, where I just try to batch it all in one day. That way, during the rest of the week, I'm not kind of scrambling to be like, oh, I, like, need to be taking photos and I need to be taking videos for kind of this next set of like, content that I want to, like, bring out. I don't know, that's kind of how I stay organized with it. I think that's kind of maybe how I plan everything, whether it's like things at work or things when I'm like planning a trip or something like that. So for me, I guess I'm a little bit more, yeah, of a structured type of person when it comes to like content creating.
That is so funny. It's so great to hear you say like your methods because it's completely different from mine.
That is
It's so
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 different.
different.
Yeah.
So I actually I did a poll the maybe a few months ago where I asked my followers two questions. It was either like what do you
Mm,
use to take photos? It was either
mhm,
iPhone or a camera. And then the poll was like which one? So a lot of my followers chose iPhone. So they use their iPhones to take photos. And then after I found out that the majority of my followers use their iPhone, I showed them two photos. One that was taken by an iPhone and like an exactly the same photo that was taken by a camera. And I asked them like which photo they preferred. And a lot of my followers preferred a photo that was taken by a camera. So then what it sounds like to me is that sure it's convenient to take an iPhone photo, but there is more like you get more out of seeing a photograph that's taken by a camera as a viewer,
mhm,
and
mm,
especially if you
mhm,
like the cameras that you used. A candid photo looks so beautiful with the presets that are already like loaded into it. That's why I
mhm.
love my
Yes,
camera. Like I can just take a photo of something and I'm like, why is this so like aesthetic?
that's
I
amazing.
think that's like the reason why like you would get a camera like that is because it takes
Mhm,
one less step away, like maybe the editing
mm,
part.
mhm,
I would love to know if you edit any of your photos because I don't. Like
mhm.
I don't touch my
Mm.
camera photos.
I edit all of my photos. So
Whoa.
I use a Sony, yes, all of them. So that is why, so my workflow when it comes to that, that's why it's like, if we're talking about trying to stay consistent, it takes a long time. It's a lot of practice to
Mm.
be editing all of your photos, right? Like I am learning a whole new like editing software, right? So for me, I take all my photos in RAW. So it's so for people who don't know what that means, it means
Why?
that the camera is taking in as much information from the scenery as possible. But the thing when you take it in RAW is that when you look at your photo, it's going to look really flat. So you have to bring it back to life through the editing process. I use Adobe Lightroom and I edit every single photo by hand. I do like once I
That
kind of
is
get the
just
base of
wild
a
to me.
photo, yeah, I'll like copy and paste those
Wild.
settings into like similar, like the similar photo shoots, right? But yeah, I edit every single one by hand. I think it's because like I love to like learn new things. And so I would way rather like, I don't know, I was kind of like, well, how do other people do this? You know how people, they sell their presets, right? Like
Mm.
their photo presets. So they sell their presets, and I'm like, but how did they do that? You know, because I was just so curious about that. And I didn't want to just buy somebody else's preset and slap it onto my photo. Like I wanted to create the photo from top to bottom, from me taking the photo all the way to the like the editing process. So that's kind of why like I dove into like how do I edit this photo? So yeah, that's kind of my workflow. But I
I
would
love
love
that.
to shorten that process actually. But it's been fun.
I think this is why
Yeah.
I love you so much is because like you love learning and that's all
Mm,
about me. Like I love to learn and put something in my skills, like my list of skills that I can do. And now like we're working on this podcast, like sound check, tick, mic check.
yeah.
I, I can do that. Connecting my camera to my phone to my Mac to my camera. Like
Love
these
it.
are just skills that like I love to like put in my belt.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about that in the last episode is that like both of us share the same feeling of like we want to be good at everything and
Mm,
it's hard to like put us in like a niche or
yeah.
like
Yeah.
one thing. It's hard out
Totally.
here,
I think
guys.
it's so hard. I think if I could start a YouTube channel, like I don't have a TikTok because there's just no way I can keep up. I think there's so much value in choosing one or two things, right? If we're talking about like productivity and like trying to keep up in our routines, choosing one or two things that you think is like totally realistic that you could do so that you don't completely
Mm,
burn yourself out, right?
mm.
And yeah, I would love to do it all. But for me, I think even the blog and the Instagram page is totally enough. I don't know about how you
I
feel about
actually,
that.
I actually just I wrote like a little. Actually, should I share? You know what? I will. In
Yeah,
my
yeah,
diary, I have
yeah.
this thing that I've written down. Are you guys ready? So this
Mm.
is the epitome of content creation. So there's one at the top and it goes all the way down. Yeah. So are you ready? This is insane.
Mm.
So
Okay.
first at the top, you write your blog post, right? So let's
Okay.
say a typical blog post is around 1,500 words to 2,200, and it on average it takes 4 hours to write, and it takes a person reading 6 seconds to read. I think that was the average. You start with a blog post. You write, let's say,
Mm.
1,500 words. After that blog post, then you create a short form. So I wrote threads as the written short form, but you can also use the blog post as a caption for all of your like social media. But there's a blog post and then it splits to two different things. Your blog post turns into a podcast, and then your blog post can also turn into a video. And then based on the podcast and or video, then it splits into short form.
Mm.
So that's why
Mm-hmm.
I want to start with the blog, because my blog is the
Mm-hmm.
written content. And then if I open up a YouTube page or podcast, that's how I can divide that information down. And for me, if I'm creating content full time for like a brand, then that just makes sense because I'm not jumping back and forth. There's like a
Yeah.
funnel and I get all my
I think that is
information.
so smart. That
Right?
is so smart. I think I've been this last year, some of my struggles in creating content, which has actually made me really stagnant because I've been focusing so much on the short form content and like what specific posts to put out every single day. But it's like really hard to think that way, right? It's almost like this panic of like, okay, like what's the theme? Like what am I doing, right? Do you ever get some of your inspiration from your journaling?
Yes. I
Mm,
have to. I have to write it down
mm,
because like my brain is just constantly
mm-hmm.
like thinking of ideas,
Yeah.
and sometimes I have genius ideas, but then I forget them. So I have to
Mm-hmm.
reflect. Like that's the only reason
Yeah.
why like you have to reflect. And reflection is a massive part of, I feel like, I don't want to say success. Like reflection is a big part of growth, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Because you
Mm-hmm.
can't get better if you don't know what you're not doing well. But how would you know what you're not doing well if you don't reflect? Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
what about you, Steph?
So yeah, I think same with you. If I get a really good idea randomly when I'm brushing my teeth, I'm like racing to like write it down, right? Because it's like hard, yeah, like it's hard to process it like in that exact moment, right? And you're like, that's such a good idea. I need to write this down. And then also like I have a journal right by my bedside. Because sometimes like you get these dreams and you're like, oh, that is such a good idea, and like I'll try to write it down when I wake up, or even like when I'm in the car. I can't quite like jot it down in a journal, but oftentimes I will make like a voice note if I have an
Yes.
idea while I'm driving, right? And then I'll just kind of be like,
Mm.
okay, like this is what it is. So yeah, it's like sort of a collection of things like everywhere. I also use like I'm organized, but it's also like a disorganized mess, I guess, because like I use Notion, I use paper journals, I use voice notes, I use my iPhone like notes app as well. So it's sort of everything sort of everywhere. I try to like condense it, but yeah, I don't know. What about you? Like, are all of your
Yeah.
ideas just on journaling, or do you have other strategies to like keep track of it all?
I think this is finally one time where we like agree. This is the only time I feel like you're an unorganized, like a chaotic organized mess.
Yeah.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
the same, because sometimes like I haven't found the one where it's like perfect. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But other than these two, so my phone, my journal, and my iPad, like that's the only three things that like
Mm.
I kind of go between. Okay, so we have this or that. So this is cooking at home, or that is dining out. I'm going to share mine. So mine is cooking at home. But I'm not the one doing the cooking. I'm the one eating. This is so controversial. I'm not really a foodie. So when I travel, I'm not there for the food, which is really sad. I feel sad,
Wow.
saying out loud. I know, I'm
Literally,
sorry. You're like, what?
like I travel for, I'm speechless
I
right
get
now.
it.
Like, like
I get it. I
the
really,
food
really get
spots
it.
are
I
part of
wish
the itinerary.
I was that person.
So mine is cooking at home,
Cooking up, yes!
which,
We finally agree on
yes,
one thing.
I love going out too, don't get me wrong, but going out are usually Saturday, Sunday kind of adventures.
Before you ask me what I like to eat, and it's so basic, I just like to eat like a lot of protein and salad, or protein and like rice or carbs. Um, yeah, like I like condiments. I like Kewpie mayo. I love a good stir fry, but I'm very basic. It's really embarrassing. What about you, Steph? What do you like to eat?
I'm not a very saucy person. Like, I
What?
actually don't like sauce.
I am so hurt. Oh.
If I had a salad, like I could have that with just a little bit of olive oil and like a squeeze of lemon, and like that's it.
Love that. I
I
get
don't
it.
have
But
dressing.
see,
Yeah.
your idea of a little bit of olive oil and lemon is like a little,
Hmm.
but for me, I'm like,
Hmm.
like, get it in there, sort of thing. Like it's a soup.
Yeah.
Do you like to have a lot of cheese? Why am I saying that?
Oh.
Do you like cheese? Well, yes, I do. My favorite scooter.
So I have to just laugh because I don't like cheese. And that might be unpopular opinion with a lot of people.
What? So this episode
I don't
is
like cheese.
spicy.
I know.
I'm sweating just like from the
Sorry,
rage.
guys.
This is actually a great segue into our next part of this episode, which is basically like about finding the balance between content creation and like your day-to-day, like 9 to 5. You sound like, from the sounds of it, you have a lot on your plate. Like, how do you balance that? I need to know. How do you stay sane and do content creation
I
and
know,
9 to 5?
My brain is very analytical, right? So this is how I see my week. I see my week, so there's 7 days in a week, and I actually read this book and I took this idea, and not saying that I'll continue to stick with this idea, but I'm always like trying new things when it comes to like productivity and like scheduling my days. But I would say I'm a little bit of a rigid planner. I like to know like every single day of the week, like what is happening. I do allow some like time for some spontaneity, I guess you can say, but I would say like I am not a wing it type of person. If you have 7 days in a week, that is about 168 hours in your week, that you can kind of like schedule your time, right? And so I work full time. Let's just say like 40 hours in your work week, right? Which is like 33% of your week, right? So which is work. And then you have sleep, right? You sleep. For me, I get 8 hours of sleep a day. So if you kind of calculate that, that's the same thing. That's about 33% of your week. So then you've kind of got these two chunks. So then I've got like this extra free time, which actually comes out to about 56 hours a week. So if you think about that, that's literally a whole work week. Like 56 hours is like more than a whole work week, right? Where you can schedule like your content creation, fitness, your cooking time, going to the get groceries, time that you spend with your friends. I don't know. That's where my mind goes when I'm like, when you ask me like, how do you time manage? I'm a scheduler.
Mm. So for me, it sounds like you as a creator, you're very analytical and very organized, very structured.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you pretty much balance it, your 9 to 5, which is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. You are so incredible. That is like the math.
Did I like totally lose you? I'm just like
I'm that
I know,
meme with
even I was
the lady
confused.
with all the math.
Yeah, right, with the lady. Yeah, just like I feel like I probably lost everyone on the podcast there because they're like, wow, this girl.
That's how I felt before when I said that I'm not a foodie and also talking about my karaoke. The one thing that like I definitely resonate with is that if I think about it this way, if I get paid at a certain amount a year and then I calculate that by how much I get paid per hour, then what I do is I calculate my free time. So let's say I have some free time between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. So that's 3 hours. How much work can I achieve within that time for the things that I want to do? And if there was a way to make it quicker, for example, editing this video, I can use AI to pick and choose clips and edit it for me, but I have to pay $30 for a whole month. Like, is that like for me to lose or for me to gain more time to do something else so that my AI robot can edit it for $30 for a month? Is that worth it for me? And then like that's my math in my calculation. And that's how I can take more time back onto my hands by getting rid of things that can be like self-sufficient on their own. That's the only math calculation that I'll do.
I love that.
Or how much is your time really worth?
Love it. Yes, yes. And I also like kind of see it like because like time, like you only have so much in a day, right? And so I always kind of think about like what are like the core things that are most important, right? Like because I don't want to be too unbalanced, right? Where you know, because I'm working, you know, I've got my sleep, and then I've got kind of like free flex time, right? And so I kind of list out like what is most important to me. So like they're like kind of like pillars in my life. So it's like health, and then it's like my relationship. So with my partner, my friends, right? Because that's very important. Then it's content creation, right? It's like I have these little pillars, and for each of them, I'll kind of pick out like a goal in that week that I want to achieve or want to kind of put time into so that I can try to stay balanced. So it's not like all heavy on content creation and then I like forgot my friends and forget about my, you know, my relationship. So it's sort of like how do I balance the like whatever category is important in my life and then really just pick one or two things to sort of like have in my week.
I need to like look. I need to take notes. How does Steph do this? For me, it is so completely so different from me. I feel like it's so good because we're so black and white in so many different things. So we get like such different takes on things. Because you earlier you said you're not a wing it person, and I am just 100% winging it. I get through the day through sheer determination.
So like tell me about your week. Like I'm curious. Like yeah, what does your everyday look like and how do you balance it all?
I stay consistent by just putting in all the time that I've had at the beginning. So I probably have taken content creation seriously for like 9 months, and at the beginning I learned how to like efficiently take the videos that I want and efficiently like batch edit so that in the process it'll take me like 2 hours to do. So for example, today I don't have a video like set out for later, but around like 6 p.m. then I'll sit down, I'll look at like my videos, I'll put it in a video editor, I'll edit it, and then it'll be done in like an hour. So that's kind of a skill that I've learned. I've pretty much honed down my routine so that it only takes me 2 hours from like pre-production to production to post-production, and that's through all the quantity that I've had in the past that I've focused on instead of it being quality. So what I mean by that is most of my stuff that I've posted is all about creating a lot of content and not so much about like how good it is, because I find that how good it is will happen once I figured out like what to do in the process. I'm both. Like I am a perfectionist. I am through and through a perfectionist, and I used to be that person where I can't upload this because it's not perfect. Like there's people in the background. Yeah. It's not clear, like it's fuzzy, or like I'll obsess about one photo forever and then I never post it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that photo, I like that photo. And then you kind of forget about it. But now it's just, I don't care.
Yeah.
Hopefully I made sense. That was really hard to talk.
And I definitely resonate with that too. Yes. Yeah, because it's like when you're a beginner at something, right? Like you just have to keep producing, right? Like you just have to keep going and like keep doing the thing, and eventually you're gonna find your style or your voice or your the way that you edit or the way that, you take photos, right? It's kind of like, yeah, like you said in the beginning, like through practice, right? Like everyday practice. And you're just going to get better and better. And the quality of what you are doing, really, like in any skill, right? It'll just get better as you keep going. So I totally hear you. Yeah. And I think this leads us into a really great sort of next part where let's do a little bit of goal setting together. So for those of
this
us,
is my favorite
or
part.
those of you guys that are listening, so Jay and I are just kind of taking our pens and papers out, but like if you guys are on a walk or anything like that, just make a mental note of what it is that maybe you're hoping to work on this 2024 year when it comes to productivity, maybe starting that passion project that you were thinking about. Okay, I wrote mine. I just wrote it kind of simple.
Me
do
too.
you want to share yours?
Okay. Mine is this. It says, get 8 hours of sleep. That is my goal for 2024. Okay, Steph, I'm ready. I'm ready to see yours. I'm actually excited to know what yours is.
So mine is be spontaneous and relax.
You know what's so funny? I'm like the mom, and you're like the dad. Dad vibes.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. So we always end off our podcast with just a few like spitfire questions for each other. So my turn to ask Jay.
I'm excited for it because you got to do this last time, so I'm ready for mine.
So first question for you, Jay, is how do you describe your style?
I'm all over the place. I'll say messy but cute. No, cute. Just straight up cute.
Would you rather always be 5 minutes late or 1 hour early?
I'm always an hour late. So I'm always late. Like always. Like even if I try to be there on time, somehow I'm late.
What's your current skincare routine?
Oh, I use... Okay, quick. So I have my oil cleanser, whitening, and then for like dark spots, anti-aging toner, and then I use serum, and then I'll go in with like a thick moisturizer if I have dry skin, and then if this is daytime, then I'll put sunscreen at the end. If it's nighttime, then I'll do like a face mask.
Do you have any weird superstitions?
Yes. Do I? Yes, I do. I do like to knock on wood if I say something. Like I am like, ooh, I believe in manifestation. So if I say something that I don't want to come true, but it like just ended up coming out of my mouth, I will knock on wood.
Okay, last one. What TV show are you obsessed with right now?
Right now, I'm watching Singles Inferno. You gotta watch it.
Okay, well, that is it for our podcast today. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We were so excited to share this episode with you.
We should have a coffee next time.
Cheers! Bye!